Hey guys, welcome back to Heavy Metal Horizons, Cars, Airplanes, and Heavy Metal. I've got a really fun video for you today because we're going to build a couple of models right here. And as I build these, I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think building models builds really good life skills. I built models as a kid, and looking back on it, it taught me some really important, really valuable skills that helped me going forward in the rest of my life. Now, the two models that I have here, these are total beginners models. So these are, a couple of classics. We got a B-17 from Testors, and we've got a snap-tight from Revell Blue Angels F-18 Hornet. Now, both of these models should be very, very easy to assemble. So if you're looking for something to start out with, these are a couple of great choices. And these are also going to be really good choices if you're getting these maybe as gifts for a younger person who wants to get into the hobby. Now, I do have a couple other things here. I've got this hobby mat, which is great for cutting things on so you don't damage the surface underneath. Now, I also have a little X-Acto knife, little hobby knife, and I have some glue here, but technically we should not need either of those. Both of these models are sort of snap-together models, so we should be able to assemble these without using any glue. I might go ahead and use a little bit of glue in certain areas just to make things more secure. And also, sometimes, even though the pieces of the model, you snap them out and so forth, sometimes you want to clean up the edges a little bit, and so a little X-Acto knife or something like that really comes in handy to maybe shave off a little, like a plastic nub or something like that. But anyway, guys, let's go ahead and get started on these and see how they come out, okay? This is going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so let's start with the classic, right? So I'm going to set the F-18 over here. Let's go ahead and start with the B-17 Flying Fortress. Great old bomber. And first we'll just open this up and see what pieces we've got in here. This is a very, very simple model. They even have it pre-painted. So more advanced models, they'll usually come in just a generic, like a gray plastic color, and then it's up to you to paint the model later on, but we don't have to deal with any of that today. So, as I'm pulling these out here, let me tell you a little bit about my theory as to why building models builds important life skills. So, I think one of the most valuable concepts that people can understand, especially for young people, is that doing something, some sort of an accomplishment, right? Some goal you have. You never do it in one step. When I was a kid or even a young adult, one of the sort of daunting things about life was that I would look at somebody who had accomplished something and I only saw the end result. I only saw when they had already gotten to the finish line. And I didn't really have a good grasp of the fact that usually big goals or big accomplishments are made up of a bunch of smaller pieces, right? You see where I'm going with this. So when you look at a model and you build a model, it takes that concept of taking a whole bunch of little pieces and slowly putting them all together, and then at the end you end up with something really cool that you wouldn't have been able to do in just one step. And I think building models really establishes that whole concept in a very tangible way. Okay, so if we look at the components here, we've got the fuselage. This is all built into one piece, and they've already got the like the ball turret installed down here, and we got the wings, of course. It's got landing gear pre-installed underneath the wings. We've got 4 engines, and then we've got the horizontal stabilizer back here. Okay, so we're going to follow the directions here, and the first step, according to this, is to install the wings. Now these should just snap right in here. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Like I said earlier, I think I'm going to use a little bit of glue on these just to hold them more securely. And again, you do not have to use glue. You can do it without it. I'm not going to use very much, just a few drops on the inside here. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and snap in this wing. Great. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the other wing. And same thing, I'm going to use just a few drops of glue. Okay. And we'll snap this in. Okay. Okay, so that's looking really good so far. Now the next step is to put on the engines. So we've got 4 of these, and actually the props do rotate, which is cool. Let's go ahead and snap these on. Now you can kind of see where these go in. It's got 2 tabs here and a couple of holes in the front. Same thing, I'm just going to put a couple of drops of glue on here. And we'll go ahead and snap this in. Okay, great. And we'll do that with the other 3 engines. I'm just going to do the same thing. A couple drops. And snap that on. Good. And these 2 down here. Okay, and the last one. Great. Okay, so now we got the wings on, and we've got the engines on. So now the next step is to put the horizontal stabilizers on the tail down here. Just press these in. Great. And same thing on the other side. Awesome. Okay, now, like I said earlier, the landing gear is pre-installed, so let's go ahead and extend the gear. And yep, it's got a little tail wheel, of course. And let's take a look at that. And there we go. How cool is that? Now we got the one last little step here. And that's to put together this little display stand, because we're probably going to want to show this off. And let's see, the arc goes towards the front and then slides back to snap in, just like that. And this should have a little slot on the bottom. Bam. Look at that, that came out great. Now honestly, it doesn't get much easier than that when it comes to building models. It's almost too easy. But like I said, if you're looking for something to help you kind of get into the hobby, or if you're looking you know, to give it to somebody else who's interested in starting out, this is a really great way to go. And it's honestly, it's very satisfying because this model looks great. I mean, after you assemble it, and it's all ready to go. And you can you know, you can hang it from the ceiling, which I like to do. Looks like it's flying, or of course, with the display stand, you can put this on the shelf somewhere. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and clean up the work area a little bit, get some of this junk out of here, and then we'll start with the F-18 Hornet. Okay, so we've got the bomber done. Now we need a fighter, right? So let's go ahead and get this open here. Now this, again, should be another snap-together model, but this is a different brand. The B-17 was a Testors kit, and this is going to be a Revell from their Snap-Tight series. Okay, so this one comes in this little plastic bag. You can see that right there with all the different pieces. We'll go ahead and open this up. Okay, so here we've got the wings are already kind of built into the interior part of the fuselage, and we've got the rest of the plane up here. Instructions, of course. This one also comes with a display stand. Here's a little top piece, little kind of a glass canopy piece, and this one here comes with the decals separately. So it's already done in a blue plastic, and then once you put these decals on, that should give you the classic Blue Angels colors. But unlike the Testors model, that one was already painted. This one here, we will have to apply these decals, but it's got some cool stuff on here, so it should be pretty cool. Okay, so let's flip open these instructions here. and take a look at what we've got. So the first step involves putting the pilot, I don't know if you can see it there, in the nose of the plane. Now, kind of what I was talking about at the beginning of the video, this is where a little X-Acto knife really comes in handy. You want to, the plastic pieces, when you kind of pry them off or twist them off of the plastic here, sometimes they leave little pieces on the end, and it can be really handy to sort of trim off those little pieces before you assemble it. It really kind of helps make for a much cleaner install, and it just takes a second. Okay, so we've got the pilot, and we'll take these nose pieces out. Okay, so the pilot goes in these two little sort of holes here, and we'll just push that in. Okay, and you can hear it snap in there. I'm going to put just a tiny bit of glue. You really want to use the glue sparingly if you do use it at all, because if you use too much, it ends up sort of coming out of the seams, which is not going to look very good. Now, one little extra step I'm going to do here, I'm going to use a little clamp like this, and this is just a little hand clamp like that. Basically, I'm just noticing that some of these pieces don't go together quite as firmly as I would like them to. So I've put a little bit of glue in there, and I'm going to use the clamp to hold it together while the glue is drying. So we can let that dry, and then I will go ahead and go to the next step here, and that should be dry in just a couple of minutes. Okay, so step number 2 is going to be this piece here. This is kind of the part of the engines, part of the fuselage. Take these out, and these two pieces here. Okay, and these pieces just snap onto the sides right here. Okay, and that's good. That's a nice fit there. And just like the nose and the cockpit piece, I think I want to use a little bit of glue and the clamp on this one, because one side fit really well, the other side was a little loose. Okay, and we'll set that over here. Next, we'll go ahead and bring the main wing portion out. And then the next step is to combine both the pieces from the two previous steps, and they should snap together just like this. Great, and those two pieces went together really well. Okay, now the next step is this little piece right here. This, I think, is just the cover for the landing gear. And that snaps in right here, just like that. Okay, and the next piece here is going to be kind of the top front of the plane. This just snaps in on top. And then we take our nose section that we already assembled, and it should slide in to the piece that we just put on. All right, that's looking pretty good so far. It's coming together. Okay, now we just have the two vertical stabilizers on the back, and we'll just snap these onto the back section here. Okay, there's one, and the other side. All right, so we're almost done with assembly here. Now we just have the little cockpit glass piece to put on, and that's just going to snap right on top. Okay, just like that. Okay, so that's the assembly of the plane. Now we do have the stand, which I'm just going to put together real quickly here, and then we'll take a look at the decals. Okay, there's our stand. And this, unlike the B-17, this model does not have the option, you don't have any landing gear on this. So it's going to be in flight, and that's how you're going to display it. Okay, and there's that. Okay, so let me clean up the workspace a little bit. Let's get all this leftover plastic out of here. Okay, now with the decals, some models, a lot of models, come with like water slide decals, and those ones you have to wet them and you can kind of move them around a little bit to get them in position, and then they dry and then they're on there. These ones are just stickers. So on one hand, there are fewer steps involved, so they're a little bit easier, but on the other hand, you kind of got to get it in the right position from the beginning. Otherwise, they're very difficult to take off and move around. So let's see what we can do with these. And the last page of the instructions, we've got a diagram here that shows where these different decals go. So we'll look at that, and let's go ahead and take it off the stand, and let's do the bottom first here. Put these US Navy stickers on here. Okay. Okay, so there's one. Now, one sort of interesting thing about this, the stickers actually go over some of the pieces of plastic, these extensions on the wing that stick down. So to really get these on there, you have to make little cuts in the sticker so it will sort of conform to the size of those pieces on the wings. So I'm going to do that. I'm working from the inside outwards. Just little cuts and then pressing it down. And the rest of this really is just more of the same. You're going through with the sticker sheet, finding the corresponding number on the diagram and carefully applying it to the model. All right, guys, so let's take a final look at this. We've got all the decals on. I'll go ahead and put it on the stand. There we go. Check that out. All right, guys, so if we look at these two models, I think they both came out pretty nice. I think, you know, the order that I did both of these in would be the order that you want to go in if you're just starting at this, because this one, the B-17, the made by Testors, this is easier, and I think the end result, you know, it's easy to get a nice end result, right? This one over here, the Blue Angels F-18, it's a little bit more difficult. It's still a snap-together model, but I think the sort of snappiness of the snap-together was not quite as good as the Testors was, so it's going to take a little bit more skill, a little bit more patience to put this together. And then of course putting the decals on is another added step that this one doesn't have. So as models go, these are both very easy, but I think they're great introductory models, and you'd want to do this one first and then this one second. And then after that, if you feel comfortable with those, you can move on to more complicated models. Also, guys, these models are both very affordable, even though these are Revell and Testors. Those are brand names in the model business. So I'll put links down below if you want to check out where you can get these and the hobby mat and everything that I have here. But, I would love to know what you guys think about my little theory about how building models also builds important life skills, in the fact that it teaches you that, if you make a whole bunch of little steps towards one end goal, then you can accomplish something really cool in the end that you would have never been able to do if you were just trying to do it in one big step. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Honestly, this was just an excuse for me to build a couple of fun models here, and I'm really happy with how these came out. Now, of course, if you like airplanes and cars and a heavy metal soundtrack, then I would really love for you to consider subscribing to the channel. I'm really trying to build things up right now. And guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Stay tuned, and I'll see you soon.